Good morning, Rabbi Sai. All right. Toshma. We're in the middle of a sugya. If a person, as we learned, could give a gift to the Rebbeinu Shalom, give a gift of oil, what do you do with it? Shmuel says you take one part of it, 3 fingers worth, you put it on the mizbeach. The rest, the kohanim could eat from. Abai comes along and argues, and he says no. Reb Zera also holds like Shmuel. Abai says no. The entire thing goes onto the mizbeach. Everything. So says the Gemara, Toshma. Yain kedivri Reb Akiva lasfalim. Sfalim. Rabbi Yisai, this is a seifel. Sefel. On the mizbeach, on top of the mizbeach, in the corner, there were 2 bowls, silver bowls, and you poured the wine into those. We saw that the plumbing went into the mizbeach itself. The Gemara, let's follow it. This is where the wine goes. Says the Akiva, it's a drain. It's a drain. It goes straight in, and it goes right into the sheet. It goes into the amma. It goes straight out. Yaakid the Rebbe Akiva, let's follow. Sheming the Rebbe Tarfin Lishim. And the oil goes into the fire. My love. What it says, Midiyayin kula lesfalim, Shema kula lishim. What do you do with the oil? The wine. What do you do with the wine? Rebbe Akiva says, the entire amount goes into these bowls. So l'chayra, wine is similar to oil. So the entire oil goes onto the fire. So what's the machlokes b'chlal? How could Shmuel say that everything that's left over goes to the kohanim? Everything goes on the fire. You're not allowed to eat it. It's not edible. It's something that goes on the fire. Says the Gemara, meet the area. Who said? Wine and oil are 2 different products. The wine goes completely 100% on the mizbeach. The oil doesn't. The oil is divided up. We actually had a video here. Here, here. You want to see what it looks like? This is Shitas Abaya. And that's what it seems like. No, just because the wine goes to the mizbeach doesn't mean that the oil goes to the mizbeach. Perhaps the machlokes tanoi shemen lo yifchis melug. When a person gives in a dove of oil, he can't just bring a cup of oil. He has to bring a whole lug. Let's call it a liter. Rebbe Oimer shleishis lugim. No, 3 times that amount. But Michael Miflugi, where do they get their measurements from? This is a concept throughout Shas. Dumino vuki basra. Not going to go through this whole thing. This is back in the day, the old technology. So we're going to skip forward. Basically, what it means is, when I'm learning one thing from the other. In this case, we're learning oil from an adava. That's how we learn. If a person can bring flour as a gift, so he could also bring oil as a gift. Now, that's step 1. I learned that. Now what do? Do I continue learning the amounts from flour? Or perhaps the amounts I could learn from something else like wine? So if you say dumina, umina, and you continue learning out everything else, so just like I learned the idea, the concept, the main idea that I could bring oil as a gift, I continue learning from mincha. What do I learn? First of all, just like a mincha, you bring a luk shemen here. Let me jump over here for a second. When I bring a mincha, this is what it looks like. I bring a bag of flour, an isarin of flour. I also bring 1 lug of oil, and I bring some frankincense, some levina. That's a mincha. That's how I bring it when I give the gift to Hashem. So if I'm learning oil from flour, I'm going to learn the same thing. Sorry, wrong one. I'm holding over here. So just like a mincha is 1 lug, so too shemen is going to be 1 lug. Just like the nedava, the kohanim get to eat from it, so too the oil, kohanim get to eat it. So I'm going to learn everything from top to bottom. Or, no, dun mina vuki basra. Let's learn one concept. They can bring in a dava. And stop, that's it. Don't go any further. I'm going to stop right over here. I'm going to learn the concept and I'm going to stop by the red. Where do I learn the amounts? I'm going to learn from wine. 3 lug, like wine. And just like wine, what do you do with wine? You pour the entire thing on the mizbeach. So to the oil, you pour the entire thing on the fire. I learned from a mincha that you could bring, I didn't know you could bring shemen as an adala. And I continue learning, ma mincha lug shemen, it's only 1 lug. I've got lug shemen, it's 1 lug by oil. I've lug shemen. Mincha, I do 1 kmitza. That's it, 3 fingers worth. And I throw it on the mizbeach. And the rest, 99% of it I get to eat. So too oil, I do the same exact motion. I go like this according to Rashi, take this oil, put it on the mizbeach. The rest of the oil I get to eat. And the one who argues, mincha. Yes, I learned from a mincha, but only one thing. I learned the concept and I stop. And then I continue learning from Nisachim. Look, it's a liquid. So let's learn. I don't know if that's the reason, but let's learn from Nisachim. The amount is different. It's 3 times the amount of oil. It's 3 lug. Just like the wine, the entire amount, the kohanim don't get to drink the wine. It all is poured on the mizbeach. The entire amount is on the mizbeach. If Abaya, I'm sorry, if Rebbe is learning it out from mincha, no, everybody's going to learn the amount also. 1 lug shemen and then the whole thing, and then the kohanim get to eat from it. El Rebbe me'ezrach gomerla. So he comes up, he says, look, there's a pasuk me'ezrach. It says by oil the word ezrach, and memela, it has to be like oil, like wine. By wine it says the word ezrach, and wine is 3 lug, so 2 oil. What are you talking about? It says mafurish. How could you say such a thing? But karba mincha. We learn from the karba mincha, from the mincha, the word karba, not from wine. The whole word is, you got the limud wrong. Rebbe. Who says 3? That's Rebbe, and he's not learning it from wine. He's learning it from mincha. So how can you tell me that Rebbe learns it out from wine when he says it's mefurish in the brisa? He learns it out from mincha amarlei tanya. I wasn't aware of that brisa. Sorry, I retract. You're right. He learns it out from mincha. Next, we have a lot of beautiful sugis today. Nu musagim Amar Shmuel hamisnad v'yayin. What do you do with the wine? Says Shmuel maybe umizalfay agabe yishim. Typical wine that comes with a karba and you pour it in the sfalim. Shmuel says no. When you have wine they brought as an adava, what do? Sprinkle it on the fire. Let me show you this and tell me if this is okay. Pouring wine onto the actual mizbeach. What's the problem with this? Huh? So what's the problem?
Fire go out? Doesn't go out anyway.
It says Eish Tamid Tukad al Mizbeach Lo Yisich, but there's the Issa D'Oraisa to put out the fire. How do you know that you put it onto the fire? You sprinkle it, mizalfa, you go like this, sprinkle, maybe this was a little bit of exaggeration, that we poured it. You put it on, it's a ishe reach, like a carbon tashem. Ask the Gemara, Bam Kasha, how could you do it? It says in the pasuk, Lo Yisichba, and you're putting out the fire. Says the Gemara, what you're thinking, he's not putting out the fire, he's putting out 1 coal over there. Huh? Yeah, I said it. Eini, Omer Rav Nachman, Omer Rabba, Baravua, Hamoyer Gacheles Malgabe Mizbech V'Kiba, Chayav. Even 1 coal that you put out, you're chayav. So yes, if you're going to put out a tiny piece of a coal, you're also chayav on loy sichbeh. Says the Gemara, no, that you're not allowed to take out 1 coal from the mizbech and bring it down and then put it out. The leke lahai, that's talking about there's only 1 coal, then you're taka over. But if there's 1,000 coals and you put 1 out, you're not over anything. Over here, there's 1,000 coals, you put the wine on it, nothing happened. You're not allowed to put out a flame on the mizbeach when you're doing it for no reason, just to put it out. But over here, you're trying to give HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's like putting a carbon on the coals and it puts out a coal. Is that a problem? No, it's part of what you do.
He calls it kibui shel mitzvah.
Yeah, the Gemara calls it kibui de mitzvah. Shani, Toshma. The Tani Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. Klapi shenasa Torah reshus l'Torah. It's interesting lashon, but klapi means since the Torah gave permission to bring wine as a nedava, yachal yichaba v'yitrim. I think they could just pour it on the mizbeach, extinguish the flame, and then take the truma. Amos lo yichbe, lo yichab. You're not supposed to. So, says Mefurish that you're not supposed to take even a small amount. You're not taking all the coals off the mizbeach. You're taking a one shovelful, and even that lo yichaba. You're not allowed to extinguish. Even exactly. Even though it's a mitzvah. So first of all, you don't have kibbud the mitzvah, and you don't. It's a little. I don't know if to go. That's what he says over there because you don't have to put it out. When you put the wine on, that's a kibbud the mitzvah. That's a kibbud mamish. But anyways. Even though it's part of the mitzvah, even though it's only a small part, you're not allowed to do it. Lo yichab. You know why? Shani Yosam, Evshad Yosef Inota. Over there, you could just wait a little bit and wait until the coal is extinguished and then take it off. But over here, you're supposed to put it onto the fire, the wine. And when you do that, it's going to extinguish part of the flame no matter what. Toshma, Yain Kedivri Rebbe Akiva Lasfalim. Rebbe Akiva says you don't put it on the fire like Shmuel says. So when Shmuel argued with Rebbe Akiva, it says Mefurish you put it on the spalim according to Rebbe Akiva. Shemen, only shemen can be retired from leishim. The oil you put onto the fire according to Rebbe Akiva. But according to Rebbe Akiva, the wine goes into the drain, so to speak, not onto the fire. Why does Shmuel say you put it on the fire when it's problematic? You're going to be over on lo yisichba. And it says, Yain lenesech lasfalim. This is Mefurish. If somebody brings an adava of wine, lasfalim, put it directly into the bowls. Or maybe you should put it on the fire, like Shmuel says, Amos lo yichba. It's also. Says Gemara lo yikashi, ha Rabbi Yehuda, ha Rabbi Shimon. So lememra the Shmuel Rabbi Shimon Svirlei. So you're telling me that Shmuel holds like Rabbi Shimon because in machlokes, Dav Shem Iskav mutter aser. He holds like Rabbi Shimon that it's mutter. That's why you're allowed to pour it onto the gechol. Here we go. You have a piece of metal glowing hot, which is very dangerous for children. If they see it, they probably want to touch it, see what it is. And you have a piece of wood. The isser to put out the wood.
Shmuel forbids extinguishing the wood.
One you could extinguish, one you can't. The wood is the isser deraisa to extinguish. And the metal, it's not real fire, it's just glowing hot. It's not the rise to extinguish on Shabbos. And because it's dangerous for people, they allowed you to extinguish it on Shabbos. Now the question is, Avol, Loigachel Shalei's top of the Tzadik Beis, exactly where we need to be at 10 to 8. Loigachel Shalei's, to extinguish a fire on wood, is this the rise? Now Reb Shimon has a shita throughout Masechta Shabbos and Shas, and it goes together. There's Davar Shem Miskaven, and there's Melacha Shein Tzrich L'Gufa. Melacha Shein Tzrich L'Gufa is trickier. Melacha Shein Tzrich L'Gufa means, the classic case, if there's a dead person, Rahman al-Islam, in your house on Shabbos, and it's uncomfortable, the stench, whatever it is, so you move him outside. So Rashi here says a very hard lashon. He says, I prefer that he wasn't in my house. I'm not benefiting from putting him outside. I didn't want him in here lechatchila. When you have a flame, let's go to our case. You have a flame on a piece of wood. The way to be over the eraisa is when you want the flame to go out. You're trying to put the flame out. You want the flame and you want it out. You want to create a coal. How do you make coals? Take a piece of wood and you light it up, and then you extinguish it when it's not completely done. It grabbed, it's nice and black, it's charcoal, and then you extinguish it. So you want the flame, you want to put it out. Over here, you wish the flame never existed. You never wanted the flame in the first place. You don't want a dead person in the first place. You're not like, hey, Chaber Kaddish, you can deliver a dead person so I can take him outside? No. Oh, you do want a flame on a piece of wood so you could extinguish it so you could have a piece of coal. But not in our case. Our case, the fire is bad. I wish there was no fire to begin with because it's a danger to society. So that's davar, that's malacha shein tzrich legufa. I don't need to put out the flame. I wish it was out to begin with. So that's malacha shein tzrich legufa. Now, Reb Shimon holds davar shein miskaven. If I pour wine onto a coal and my intent was to do a mitzvah, it just is a side. How do you say the opposite of a benefit? Side consequence that's going to extinguish the flame. I don't care about that thing. That's davar shein miskaven, so it's mutter. But he also holds that malacha shein tzrich legufa is also mutter. So why is putting out a piece of wood in the middle of a Rosh Hashanah where there's children running around in the park, how come it's aser? It should be mutter. So the answer is because he doesn't agree to that halacha. He agrees to number one, davar shein miskaven is mutter, but to this, malacha shein tzrich legufa, he holds it's aser, and that's why he says, he also could be Yehuda in this case. They don't go together, says the Gemara. I thought that Reb Shimon is Reb Shimon through, you have to take, if you're gonna, it's a package deal. If you hold one thing of Reb Shimon, you have to hold two things of Reb Shimon. No, it's not a package deal. Oh, that's you hear that, you smell that smoke from the menorah. It should be mutter to extinguish the fire because it's melacha shein tzrich legufa. You don't need to extinguish the fire. You wish it wasn't there. Let me just show you Rashi real quickly because it's a very hard Rashi to understand. When we get to Shabbos, we'll talk about it. But it just says. It only applies when you try to make coals through his extinguishing the flame. And you want the flame, you want the coals. Reb Shimon holds his potter. And putting out the flame in our case is not for the actual. You're not benefiting from the actual thing. And Rashi, this is what's controversial. I wish he didn't even have it. It's like taking out the dead person. Okay, so when we get to it, we'll say why it's controversial. Says Gemara, the davar shein miskaven answers Gemara, Shimon. You're right. Pouring on the flame is not a problem because he holds davar shein miskaven is mutter. But the second halacha that if he doesn't care, he doesn't want the fire to go out, he wishes it wasn't there, he's just trying to save kids from touching it. Savar laka review that he holds that it's also to put it out. And that's the end of that. So if you didn't get it, it's not the end of the world. Here we are in brand new sugi. Amar Ravuna. The Zevachim shenitmu. If you have wine that became tamei, what do? Let me just show you Rashi real quickly. So he says, why? Why would I? You know what? Let's show what it is first. I believe this is Kobe. So Yoshi's in America. They told he's there for a chasana. And Kobe, our Hebrew editor, he stepped in. So basically, you make a flame on the floor of the Azara, which is super interesting. We never saw this before. And you take the wine, and it's tamei wine, and you pour it right here. Explains Rashi. Why do I do this? It's Rashi because if you're going to pour it onto the mizbeach, it's not noticeable. It's a liquid. You don't see it burning up. You want people to notice it. Yeah, there's nothing going on. It's just the liquid. You should burn it in the kodesh, which is the azar. We see the same thing. All these things that became tamei, blood, oil, even the wine that we're talking about, shenidmu became tamei. You make its own individual fire, and you burn it. Shmuel said, get me 10 people immediately. I want to say this halacha right in front of 10 people, because if I say it in front of 10 people, then the word will spread. You can make a fire and you burn it. Hadrun Allah kol hatader. Hadrun Allah kol hatader. Hadrun Allah kol hatader. Zok te'elagi mishnah. Dam chata shenita zal beged. Do not get confused, because I did, so I want to make sure you guys don't. We learned that you shouldn't be washing clothes. The clothing of the kohen, we learned, with washing detergent, without washing detergent. This is a new halacha. I'm going to say it, l'saber soiz, it's a very bad mashal, but it's just to understand. Sometimes, when there's a terrorist attack or whatever, the Chaver Kedisha comes, or the Zaka comes, they clean up and they put the clothing in a bag, they bury. Every piece of blood is a problem, meaning it has to be buried. When chata's blood gets on a beged, that's a problem. It's like similar in my mind. Like you got to get rid of it, not because of the beged, but because of the blood. We're looking at the blood, not the clothing. You're not washing the clothing to make the clothing clean. You're washing because you shouldn't have blood of a chatas over there. Blood of chatas cannot be on your beged. Dam chadash shenitaz al beged harei zeton kibus. It requires washing. Ava bishen akosim medaber elo ben achalois. Shenei kodesh teyachel. Echel an achalois vechel apnimiyos tunis. So Rabbi, so we have three things here. There's three types of chatos. Rabbi, so remember, I'm not being mechadash anything now. This is the chatos that we do every day on the regular mizbeach, mizbeach hachitzon. This is the chatos you do on Yom Kippur once in a while. You do the chatos apnimi, and then you have the bird chatos. It says in the pasuk here. Let me just show you. Here's the pasuk. I'm sorry. Yizem midomo ala beged asher yizeh aleho dechabes b'mokim kodesh. The Torah says you have to wash it. There's no. That's not a. But what are you washing? The inner one or the outer one? Rabbi said, which one is it? Or maybe it's even a bird. It says chatos. It could be one of three things. So this Tana holds. There's one Torah achas the kol hachatois. All the chatos are included. So does it also include a bird? No. We'll see later. Chatos psula ein damaton kibos. But this is the yesod we have to remember. Once the chatos is pasul, doesn't matter what. So let's say you shechted a chatos and the blood went on your clothing. You chayiv to wash it? Yes. 20 minutes later, you made the blood pasul. You touched it, a tamei, sheretz, whatever you did, it's tamei. It stayed overnight, lina. Do I have to wash the clothing? What do you guys say? Do I have to wash the clothing? 10 minutes ago, I had to wash the clothing. Now that I made it pasul, do I retroactively remove that chiyuv? Huh? Yes? No? Anybody? You don't have to wash it. Why? It works retroactively. Very good. It doesn't matter if it was always pasul or not. You don't have to wash the clothing. What does it mean? That it was good for a while? Shalana. It was good, so you had to wash the clothing. Then it stayed overnight. Vishanitma. It was good for a while. In other words, you had to launder it, but it became tamei. So you don't have to do laundry anymore. Vishiyatzas, or you had to do the laundry, and somebody took it outside of the Yisrael. You don't have to do it anymore. This we all know. How can you make it possible immediately? You made a, not that you physically shechted it outside. You thought in your mind you're going to bring it outside. You thought in your mind outside of the makom that you're allowed to bring it, or outside of the zman. You said you're going to eat this carbon in 3 days. So you did pigul, you did chutz makom. So it's possible right away. Shekiblu psulim is dama, and a coin that's tamei accepted the blood, so you don't have to do kibus on this beged. So this should include also a bird chatos. It means all the chatos. Torah achas. You just told me there's one Torah for everybody. I love it. Tanya, what does it say? Rabbi said there's a miot, there's an exclusion. Zois, only this. It says only ones that are shechted, not a bird that has malika, not shchita, so that doesn't require washing the clothing. Maybe it's talking about things that are eaten. What's eaten? A bird. What else is eaten? A chatas chitzoini, not a chatas pnimi. Maybe this comes to exclude the inner chatos, right? We have three things that we have. One thing is certain, the outside one. The pasuk is talking about the outside one. Let's include the inner one. Let's exclude a bird. Maybe no, the opposite. Maybe it comes to include the bird, but to exclude the inner one. Rabbi Rachman, Torah, no, we have a riboy. If you have a riboy, you have something to include it, include also the bird. Mid Rachman is ice. So we have a riboy and a miot. Let's take off a bird. Let's include a inner chatas. Umarisa, the famous question, mehechatesa, to take the bird, the inner chatas and exclude the bird. What usually 99% of the time, or maybe 100% of the time? I don't know. I didn't check. What comes right after the word umarisa? Mistabro. It's a svara. I'll just give you. I'll remind you, and then the Gemara goes through a list. The inner one is similar to the outer one, and here's the list: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bird is similar to the outer one: 1, 2, 3. The Gemara says, "Oh, this list has more, so this one wins every time." Mistabro the chazes beima have a leili rabuy shekain. What? What do you say pnimius? No. Here we go. Here's the 7 things that it's similar. They're both animals, right? The chatas apnimi, chatas achitzoni, they're both behemoths. The shchita is in safain. You have to accept the blood. A bird, you don't do that. A bird, you don't have to do shchita b'tzafon. You have to put it on the horn of the mizbeach. You have to do it with your finger, and you have to put it on the corner, the spitz, and you put it on the fire. 7 things. Shekain behema, shchita safel, v'kabbalas kli, tzadik beis on beis, v'keren. It goes on the horn of both mizbeachs, the inside and the outer. V'etzba, you do it with your finger. V'chuda, on the spitz, the spitz of the keren. Well, yeah, the keren of the keren, exactly, the corner of the keren. V'yishim on the fire. Adarabba, the opposite. Both of them are outside of the heichal. They're in the azara. The bird and the outside chatas. Kimoisa, like it, vachil kimoisa, and both of them you eat. Where's the inner one? You don't eat. Says the Gemara, Hanach nefishin. Rabbi Yosef Amar Kroy Yechleno. Another thing like the Mishnah, it says Yechleno. What is the Yechleno? Let's think about it. Yechle, no. Eat it. If you have 2 things that you could eat it. This one and not that one. It's not referring to, I want to exclude one thing. You should eat this chatos hachitzoin and not this chatos ha'oif. Because there's 2 that you could eat, the bird and the chatos hachitzoin. Yochlan, no, you should eat this and not the other, not the bird. So it's going to exclude the bird. If you already excluded a bird from the word yechlena, so what's Rav Yosef going to do with the word zois? The Torah is just saying you should eat it, not to be mimayed, not a bird. Eat it. That's the way we talk. Kamash Malon, Zois is more of a meal together with Yechlena. I learned from Yechlena though. Rabbi Omar, Rabbi is going to say the exact opposite. Until now we're saying that the pasuk is coming to tell me a chatos chitzoy, but I need to learn a chatos pnimi. Now we're going to do the opposite. The pasuk is telling me chatos pnimi. You have to wash your clothing if the blood gets on your clothing, but not the chatos chitzoy. And the chatos chitzoy, and now the Gemara is going to do the whole thing all over again. Come to exclude a bird, maybe come to include a bird, because we have a list, and this list is larger than that list. What do you sprinkle? Not put on the mizbeach, sprinkle. That would be the inner chatos. Here we go. Hazah, you do with the inner chatas inside the heichal. So I know the inside chatas, you have to wash the clothing. How do you know that? Wait a minute, the pasuk is talking about something that you eat. How can you tell me it's talking about an inner chatas that you don't eat? The pasuk is talking about something you eat. No, the pasuk that talks about eating. This thing, remember this video? I'm going to keep on going because we're a little late. There's an idea that when you make a chatos, you have to wash the pot out. There's no belias. That's something that you eat. The pasuk that's talking about laundering the begadim. Actually, using is talking about the inner chatos, not the outer chatos. Yachi, just a simple language question. If I'm talking about the inner chatos and I want to include something else, what do? I say not only the inner chatos, but also the outer chatos. It doesn't make any sense to say not only the outer chatas, but also the inner chatas. I'm not talking about the outer chatas. I'm talking about the inner chatas. So the first word I should mention is the inner chatas. Which is the outer chatas. It should say the opposite. The one I'm talking about. Not only this, and also the chatas from the outside. It's a great question. Let's change the language. In fact, you have to actually change it according to this pshita. The pnimis comes first. So why don't we say that includes the bird chatas? Because we have amiyot like we saw before. This is the same sugya all over again, so we can go faster. So let's exclude. You have an exclusion. So say the chatas achitzoyna is not included. That you don't have to wash your clothing if the blood touches it. No, riba rachmanatoras. There's a riboy. So you have to include something. But why include the behema chatas? Include the bird chatas. Mistabra, right? The next word is always mistabra. There's from logic. Chaz behema havalei lirbuy shekain behema shchitas tzafon kabbalas kli keren etzba ve'etzba vechuda ve'ishim adarabba chatas ha'oif havalei lirbuy shekain hazak. This is the only difference. You sprinkle. You don't apply it directly to the mizbech. Hanach nefishin. The behema is more. That's why I include the outer chatos. Rabbi Isai, Freilcha Chanukah. Have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDaf.com.